All right. It's the Chase Carter Concept Podcast, June 16th, episode 7, I think. I'm not really keeping track. Anything over 5 and I lose count. Let's get into the news I thought was interesting. I'm not going to talk too much about the civil unrest that is going on. The last 2 podcasts, I did big chunks on it. And all of the different views a bunch of people I'm seeing are taking. Some people saying they're overreacting. Some people are saying others are underreacting. But I thought this was interesting. There was an issue. By issue, I mean another black person killed by a police officer. But this one, I don't know how I feel about it because the man was physically assaulting the police officer, stole his taser, and then tried to use it on the police officer. And they said, well, he's using a taser. A taser isn't lethal. And I agree with that. But also you have to think the cop, I don't know if there's another answer to this, but if somebody is holding a taser, like the cop, I don't know what started the whole issue, but I saw, of course, like everybody else, a 15-second clip. But it's just interesting. If someone is shooting you with a taser when they're running away from you, do you let that guy go? And then if you let that guy go, say a cop cannot apprehend somebody safely. Do you let that person go? And then are the police responsible for whatever that guy does afterward? If the cop were to let that guy go and hypothetically he doesn't have his car anymore, he's freaking out, he has a taser now, and he goes into someone's house, steals someone's car, and in the process hurts somebody else or kills somebody else, are the police legally responsible? Because the cop could have stopped him by shooting him, but didn't. So there's this whole butterfly effect afterwards. And there was another thing I saw. It was to ban police from shooting at moving vehicles, which I thought was interesting because they don't want, because bullets do crazy things when they get shot. They don't want, but I thought it was funny with the moving vehicle. If a guy is speeding off and the police officer has a good shot at shooting this criminal that hypothetically deserves to be shot, whatever the purpose is, there's some argument that you don't know what's going to be the outcome of that crash. And then I'm thinking, well, that guy could drive off and go do other crimes and still be at large. So, like, what's the risk? Obviously, if there's people around, but I think I don't think situations are cut and dry like that. I don't think there's shades of gray in between. I don't think it's black and white. Like, oh, if this happens, you do this. This happens, you do this. I think restraint is always, you side on the side of restraint. But then these police officers, they don't know if they're going to die. So, and then you tell these people who are protecting our civilization what the right and wrong thing is to do. It's very interesting. And then the Atlanta police chief resigns, and she was one of the police chiefs out there with the protesters marching and everything, and she resigns. I don't know if she was forced to resign or if she just threw her hands up and was like, look, if you're going to complain about a civilian who is beating a police officer, steals his weapons, and then goes to use it on the police officer, and if we're not allowed to protect our police officers, then what are we doing? I see that side of the argument too. But it's very interesting. As an outside observer, it doesn't seem like to be any right answers. Now, 4 minutes of real discussion. Now we're going to talk about sports and video games. Kyrie Irving always seems to be a deep thinker, someone who doesn't think along the lines of normal society. He's getting a lot of backlash right now because he thinks, I don't support going into Orlando. I'm not with the systematic, I can't think if it's systematic or systemic racism and the bullshit. Something smells a little fishy. That's what he said. So he's implying that there is a conspiracy. Leave it to the person who thought the earth was flat a little while ago to think that putting millions, hundreds of millions, if not, well, no, billions of dollars into black people's pocket as a conspiracy against them. What's the one thing that can make change in this world? Money. So if we put money into that community's pocket, they're going to have more power. So if there was a conspiracy, if anything, they would want you to not play and not have money. So you couldn't affect change. So you don't have a constant, the whole world is going to be watching basketball. So if I was a racist white person, I would want you to not play. So you don't have a platform. So you cannot bring attention to these issues. That's what I would do if I was a racist white person. But I'm willing to give up everything I have for social reform, he says. You ready to give up everything? Sell all of your property. I don't know how much, he's made well over $100 million in his career. So you're willing to give up all of that. Your platform. Which, by the way, is the only reason people listen to you is because you're a great athlete. People admire that. The hard work that he put in to become this great. That's why people are like, well, if he has that amount of dedication to something, he might be a person to listen to. But as we see so many times before, there are celebrities who inspire people with their activism. And then there are basketball players who do the same. LeBron James inspires me in a lot of things he said, and then he doesn't mention anything about China and the sweatshops that make his shoes. And then that kind of turns me off. And I'm like, oh, you're a hypocrite too. But that doesn't mean that he hasn't done so many great things for his community. So there's this push and pull aspect to everything. And there's so many, these guys inspire people just by it's silly because they're playing a game and they inspire feelings out of the entire country. But it's just interesting how he thinks that not playing basketball and not having a platform, it's going to be, no one's going to know. If you don't have that platform, nobody's going to hear from you. Nobody. I didn't even know he was doing anything until he spoke up about shutting down the NBA or keeping it shut down. But hopefully, I don't know if it's a negotiation tactic, but they're making the same amount of money this year, so maybe next. I don't know. I'm trying to make these jump to conclusions, and I just can't really think of anything that to me that doesn't make sense. Not playing now. And the coronavirus hasn't been brought up at all, so it's not that. It's just interesting, and he's not even playing. He doesn't have to play. He's injured. He's supposed to be out the remainder of the season anyway. Why are all these people who aren't playing coming out and saying that they're not playing? We know you're not playing, guy. We know it. Just real weird. I don't know. It's confusing for me. And then MMA news, Conor McGregor retired like Tuesday or Wednesday of last week for the third or fourth time. And for some reason that made headline news. I don't know why it made headline news. This man retires all of the time. And it just drums up more. I think he just does it to get his name, obviously, and nobody was talking about him. And then all of a sudden, oh, Conor McGregor retired, so we're going to talk about him. Let's see what else. Speaking another, Stipe Miocic versus Cormier 3 got announced for August 15th. And hopefully the bars will be open by then, and I can go into a bar spend $5 to $10 instead of the $70 or $80 and watch that great fight. That I'm very, very excited about. This is the rubber match. This is the third. Cormier won the first one. Miocic won the second one. Miocic. Stipe Miocic. It's always hard to say his names. Say his name, Chase. Say his name. Say it. Let's see. What other little news should I go? Okay, because I got some issues to pick with Assassin's Creed Origins, but I'm gonna save that to later in the podcast. Okay, here we go. I saw. Oh yeah, there was a bison. You know how these people, these idiots, these white people go to like wildlife reserves and they're like drive-through safaris. First of all, leave the animals alone. Unless you're a animal expert, leave them alone. Don't get close to them. I don't care what it is. I was at a zoo with an unnamed female individual, and she had a child. And this child was feeding giraffes. So a small child who can barely walk, defend itself, was around a over 1,000 pound, 2,000, 3,000 pound animal. I have no idea how big those giraffes are. If a giraffe wanted to kill you, it could do it in a split second. But for some reason, these things are, I don't know if they're hopped up on drugs or what, but these zoo people are comfortable with these giant animals feeding children. There is no way in hell I would let my child get anywhere near these things. I wouldn't even let my child. I'm so afraid of animals that I wouldn't want my child to go into a zoo. I'm afraid there's going to be some kind of animal revolt. The whole place is going to go crazy, and it's going to be chaos. And I'm just going to be sitting outside. I told you, but it hasn't happened yet. But I'm not hoping it does, because then people would get hurt. And the precious animals. But anyways, there's a video of this family. There's I think a little boy and a little girl. There's a giant bison with they're not horns. They're not tusks. See, what are those things that bisons? But they have these. I don't know if they're horns. I don't know what they're not antlers. They kind of look like ram horns, but in a different. I'm gonna call them horns. So they have these two horns. They're basically hooked spikes on their head, made for causing damage. And the bison just casually walks up to the SUV. The girl, which is evidence that at that age women are smarter than men. The girl puts her head back in the car. The little kid, the other little white boy, was like, "Hey, hi, what? Look at it! It's so furry!" And this thing proceeds to just, all it does is turn its head kind of quickly. Not even as quick as it could have. It could have done it way worse and broke the kid's head off. But the bison just moved its head medium speed to the right. And the horn just hooks this kid's head and slams it up against the car. And then the kid goes back into the car. What did you think was going to happen? That's not a puppy. That's not the dog that's been in your house for the past 5 years. That is a wild animal that on a daily basis fights for its life. And you think it's cute. And by the way, it's huge. I wouldn't go next to a wild bird that was knee high to me, or a goose. Those things can just cause so much damage. Think of a cat. And if a cat's ever jumped on your arm and scratched you, its claws come out and it bites you. Granted, it probably won't kill you, but you're gonna get messed up. Think of a over 1,000, 1,200 pound, 1,500 pound, I'm guessing 2,000 pound, however much your mother weighs pound. Oh, think of getting knocked out by a bison when you're 5 years old. I'm drinking water. Gotta stay hydrated. I'm 210 pounds. I gotta start losing weight. I'm getting fat and people have noticed. Okay. Fun fact. These little, I'm going to go over quick little news stories and then I'm going to get into video games. Assassin's Creed, playing Sea of Thieves with my girlfriend. All of those fun activities. We got her an Xbox. And by we, I mean I went and got it from a friend of mine who had a broken Xbox. And then I paid someone to fix it. And it was a lot cheaper than the Xbox One X. It was like $140 to get it fixed. Okay, there's a news. This is how I know news. CNBC had this article up. It said U.S. male. I can't even read. I'm talking about how stupid somebody is, and I can't even read. U.S. May retail sales surged 17.7% in biggest monthly jump ever. Now, I didn't even click on the news story, but obviously it's going to be a jump. Do you know why it's going to be a jump in May? Because everything was shut down the month before. So you go from zero, damn near zero, to whatever it was in May. March, less than nothing because we shut down heavily. May, we opened up a little bit. Some places opened up. The hugest jump in history. No shit. No shit. If you shut down the borders and nobody comes in and then you let people in, the highest percentage of immigrants ever into the United States. Like what are people writing about? They have nothing to write about. There's so many other things you could. And then another fun little story from Forbes.com. There are at least 36 intelligent alien civilizations in our galaxy, say scientists. And I read this, and there are over, it said an estimated, because they don't know. And that's just within our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. That's not even the universe. Oh, I don't understand how big, like trying to wrap your head around how big the universe is. I don't understand. I honestly don't understand. But anyways, they created a calculation, a simulation. Yes, I was going to say simulation. A simulation where it estimates how often intelligent life could have happened just in our galaxy. They say there are anywhere between 100 billion and 400 billion stars just in the Milky Way galaxy. And so they make this calculation, and the simulation, I can't say it again. The simulation came up with 36. Now, it assumes a whole bunch of facts and statistics, just like any simulation would. But they came up with that. But they also talk, what I like about the article is it talks against the simulation and how interesting it is. But just, it is, I don't know how, obviously, and first of all, it's not scientists say, it says 36 intelligent alien civilizations in our galaxy, scientists say. No, the computer that the scientists made says that. Not scientists. It's not like scientists are looking up at the stars and then make this assumption based off of data. But I don't know. I don't know how it all works. But it was just an interesting article written by Jamie Carter, I just read that name, senior contributor, which is kind of scary. That's a very scary name. I'm gonna become a Catholic and say a few Hail Marys. That name doesn't exist ever again. Anyway, let's see. PlayStation news. Video game news. PlayStation 5. It's really huge, it looks like. The PlayStation 5 got announced. Didn't get announced. It was revealed a few days ago, and it looks okay. It looks good. I don't think I'm going to buy one. I think I'm going to stick with the Xbox. They didn't really show anything that any features that I don't know that I would besides the quick loading. But then I don't, as long as you knock the loading down like maybe half, I'm fine with. I'm fine with loading times. I get it. The games have to load. I don't see any, I can't imagine any features in a game where loading stops something from happening. You know what I mean? So like, what features can you have in a game that you couldn't before that are amazing because loading doesn't exist? I don't know. They showed Ratchet and Clank, and they showed an environment, and then a portal would open up, and they would go through the portal, and that world would instantly be loaded. It, quote unquote, instantly. It would take a second or two to load, like the transition from the world you're in and through the portal into that world. There's like a little transition, and the transition happens like in 2 to 3 seconds, so it's very quick. So it's almost, there's an animation that lasts that long, so it's almost instant. And like, I don't care if a world instantly gets loaded, as long as I'm not sitting in a loading screen like Sea of Thieves, where I'm sitting in there for 30 seconds, 40 seconds every time I load the game up. That's annoying. There was an NBA 2K 19 or 18. It took forever to load. 2K20 is not so bad, in my opinion. I don't like how you have to load into the My Career, and then if you weren't in the neighborhood before, you have to, and then you want to go the spin, you have to go into the neighborhood, which is another loading screen. So you have to go into a loading screen to get to a menu, to get to another loading screen, to get to the place you want, and then you have to go into the building that the daily spin thing is, which is another loading thing. Why can't I just go directly into the spin room, the prize room, whatever it is? Why can't I choose from the main menu to load into that? I choose my career. Where do you want to load into? I want to go into the prize room. Boom, I'm in the prize room. Then I can go other places if I want to. Or if you have to work out at the Gatorade facility, I load into the, well, you don't really, that's part of the whole thing. You don't have to load into that, actually. So it's, I don't know. But the PlayStation 5 looks good. I saw some estimates about how big it's going to be, and it's through some, I don't know, scientific studies. They think it's going to be big. It's going to be vertically taller than any system that's ever been created. Taller than I think the second tallest was the PS3, the George Foreman grill one. But people are saying it looks like, a Wi-Fi router. It is kind of cool. It looks like a V, Roman numeral 5. It looks very alien-ish. But who cares what the system looks like? Is it gonna hold up for, like, how long is it gonna last? And hopefully there's no issues with the system, like overheating or anything like that. Hopefully it's not loud. And does it play games good? Does it play games good? Does it play games that you like? What are the games like? How is the next Uncharted game gonna play better because it has this technology behind it? The DualSense controller, I want to see how that feels. But other than that, it's just a system that loads things quicker, that hopefully games look better and play better. Like, can we get 4K 30 frames a second, 60 frames a second? Can we get that at a steady? There's no clipping, but they're gonna make games look so much. I think we're always gonna have this issue because people are gonna always try to make the games look too good. Like, I want the game to run better. Playing Doom, and Doom looks insane, but I don't understand how Doom can get created. I played Doom, and then I went from Doom. I said Doom way too many times just there. I said like 5 times. But I go from that to Assassin's Creed, and Assassin's Creed feels like it's chugging. It feels so, not twitchy, but laggy. It doesn't feel smooth. But I just think it's the perception from going from a 60 frame a second game that looks amazing to a 30 frame a second game that doesn't look that amazing. Sea of Thieves looks better than Assassin's Creed. Okay, Assassin's Creed. I am almost done with it, I think. These quick issues that I have with the game, I'm going to go over. The killing is terrible. It doesn't feel like you actually kill someone unless you kill the last person in the group, and then there's some cool execution move that happens that I don't get to control. So it's always awesome when a video game with a controller takes the control away from you. There's a chain combo where there's a special move you have, you press X and Y on the Xbox controller. You press X and Y at the same time, and it does a finishing move to somebody. And then if you have an ability, you can press X in the middle of that to kill another bystander. Or another, and not a bystander, some innocent person. No, if you're fighting a group of soldiers and you use your special on one guy, you can instantly kill somebody else by taking their weapon and throwing it at another guard or whatever. And just the way that whatever you throw at them just goes in their body and then they slump down. There's no impact. And it's the softest sound I've ever heard. It's just not satisfying at all to use this. I want some John Wick pizzazz a little bit. I don't want, maybe that's how it happens in real life. People just and then fall over. I don't know if you noticed this is the blade going into somebody, the sword or whatever. But there was another part where you become a female character in the game. You're a male character most of the time. His name's Bayak. And then you have a wife, Aya. And then later in the game, you become, spoiler alert, you switch characters in Assassin's Creed, which happens all the time. You become the girl. And there's a set piece where she's running along the tops of these sailboats. She's running along top the sails. And then you're running along, the fire is below you. You're trying to stay up high, get out. It's a set piece. To make everything look really, really cool. But it's not organic. All the boats are still in the water. They're not. I swear, once you play Sea of Thieves and a boat moves and you deal with all this kind of, quote unquote realistic stuff, realistic water physics, and then you go to a game that doesn't have it, it's just so eye-opening. It's like, wow. But all the games can't. That's the thing the Sea of Thieves concentrates on. So if they didn't get that right. But anyways, it's just really jarring. So these set pieces, so you're walking along or running and jumping along from different sails to there's a whole bunch of sailboats in a line, and you're jumping to get to the other side of this little this other side of this river. And right in the middle of it, it just cuts to a cutscene where you're not in control anymore, and then the sail that you're on breaks and you fall, and then you fall into the water. Then it loads the game back in, and then you go on another exploration thing. You have to go under all the boats instead of on top of them. And I don't understand why games take control away from you again. Just have it break. Or have me dive underneath. Or have the fire engulf completely the boat in front of me to where I can't use that. I have to jump in the water, then go under. You know what I mean? Or it's or just have an audio cue of the girl that I am going, oh, I can't jump along top of these things anymore. I'm going to have to go underneath. And then I'm going to be like, oh, okay, so I'm going to jump in the water now. That's it. That's all you got to do. Why have this cutscene that doesn't matter? You animated this whole thing that doesn't matter. Have it be like a natural instance in, I liked playing Uncharted, where you didn't know if you were in a cutscene or you didn't know that things were going to happen to you, but it happens and it feels natural. I don't know how difficult that is to make, but it's just very interesting. How you see these, and this is a AAA game. A lot of people worked on this. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars making this game, I'm assuming. Maybe not hundreds. Maybe 50 to 150, I would say. Would be my uneducated guess. And then there's this other terrible. I've thought multiple times to put this game down and not finish it, but I'm just gonna finish it because I'm dumb and stubborn. But you're on a chariot and you're getting chased by this elephant, okay? And you're putting arrows, and there's a guy on top. There's a guy on top of in this box or whatever. There's a guy on top controlling the elephant, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna shoot the guy. So I go to shoot the guy, and I'm aiming right at him. It's not hitting him. It wants me to shoot the elephant. So I shoot the elephant, and then the character that I am says out loud, it's just making him angrier and it's running faster. It's just making him angrier. So I think in my head, okay, stop shooting him. If he's less angry and getting hurt less, then he's going to run slower. So I do, this thing catches up to me and kills me. So don't have that audio in the game then. So this, and you don't have to aim at the elephant at any specific part. I'm thinking, hey, maybe I shoot him in its legs. It'll slow him down. No, you just, and then you have an endless supply of arrows. It's so dumb. It's so video gamey and so just simply put together that it baffles my mind. And then, so you're shooting, all you do is shoot this elephant over and over. You have an unlimited supply of arrows. You're shooting. You're not driving the chariot. Someone else is. It's not even another person, another computer. So the game is putting you along this pathway. Then you get to a certain point, and it goes to a cutscene where he runs out of arrows. He doesn't have any. Finally, you run out of arrows. And then there's a spear on the ground he sees that you're coming up to. So the chariot's still moving. He grabs the spear while the chariot's still moving, turns around and throws a spear at the elephant. It hits him in the eye. The elephant has this cool cinematic thing. The elephant slides, and then the chariot, falls over, and everyone's okay, except the elephant. And the guy who you were after, who was controlling the elephant to begin with, you don't even have it. That kills him. So it baffles my mind. It boggles or baffles. One of the two B words. That somebody getting paid a lot of money put that together and thought that was cool. It's not. At all. But just the build up to the bosses in the game. God awful. Terrible. And then there was another. I don't want to get into it. I'm done with that. Sea of Thieves. Good news. My girlfriend and I got another Xbox for her, and her gaming monitor is. Jeez, I can't believe I'm saying this. Her gaming monitor is on the way, and I can't believe this is. I'm not gonna have any time to myself. But she likes playing Sea of Thieves. She likes exploring. She likes the mermaid statues, and she likes following clues and doing all that stuff. And she likes how pretty the game is. She likes how silly the characters look and everything, but then how beautiful the sunsets are and the water and anything shiny. I realized it's so genius. You will not. First of all, I understand women liking shiny, silvery, goldish objects in real life. It translates to video games because if you've never played Sea of Thieves, if there is a piece of treasure on, say, a beach or whatever, it'll glimmer, it'll shine, so then it draws your attention to it, and it's like a little bit of an exaggeration. How much it shines, but then you obviously go and get it. I'm saying we are being attacked by a giant shark, a skeleton ship, a bunch of things, real people, and then she sees a shiny object that's like 400 gold, not that much. And she yells with excitement every single time she sees any kind of thing, anything that's shiny. And it's hilarious, but it's also extremely frustrating. And then she calls the crow's nest, because I usually do the sailing. I take care of the helm. I sail our little boat, and I want her to be up in the crow's nest looking at things, telling me where other ships are. So if you see another ship on the horizon, it's always distance, the type of ship, and then the direction that the other ship is in. So you say far away sloop, which is a small ship, far away sloop, southeast. And then that far away means, okay, I'm not worried about it. But she didn't know I try to tell her this stuff over and over. At first, it was no big deal because she's not going to know how to talk like that. But she goes, oh my God, a ship. And then I'm in the water dealing with sharks and stuff, trying to help us out. And then I'm like, oh my God. So I rush back to the ship, and to our ship, and I look. I could barely see the other ship. It was so far away. And I'm like, you have to tell me the distance first. Distance, type of ship, sloop, brigantine, or galleon, and then the direction. It's very, very simple. But this has led to a bunch of funny and also frustrating instances in the game. But it's really fun playing with her. I would never tell her that. But yeah, it's cool to have someone who plays that game. Because I had a few friends who played that game, but then they stopped. But it's just a fun game that puts you in multiple different scenarios over and over. You never know the kind of scenario you're going to be in. Because the game is, I don't know what the right word is, like fluid. You can be chased. You can chase after people. You could be going after like a skeleton fort. And then multiple people show up, so that whole dynamic is different. They can be friendly, they can not. They can pretend to be friendly and then backstab you later. There's all these different scenarios that could happen in the game that make it fun. And plus, I think it's just fun to play in general. So I'm trying to think. She calls the crow's nest the parrot nest. And I'm like, well, it's a bird, so that's close. Trying to think of another thing she likes. The harpoon thing she thinks is good. She's terrible at it, but she's good at it. She's getting a lot better. But anything shiny, she goes right after. But I think that'll be the podcast. We're here at 36 minutes. I'm not gonna force anyone to listen to me longer than that. But yeah, that's the podcast. My name's Chase Carter. This is the Chase Carter Concept Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble on about topics that I'm not educated on, and hopefully you tune in next week. All right, take it easy.